What's up, guys? Van Zeben here. This is episode 16.6, actually episode 16.5 technically, but episode 16.6 of Java 2D Game Engine Development. Today we are going to be doing our actual disconnect packet, which I kind of skipped over a little bit, but we're going to go back and we're going to fix that up. Currently, the state the game is in, we have an actual login packet, which runs on both clients, and lets you log into the server. So we're going to start the server up. This is just a demonstration. If you haven't seen that episode, there should be a link up here somewhere that you can go and click and see that. So you'll see that I've logged in under Van Zeben right here. And let's start up a new instance here. And this instance, we are just going to not run the server, and we will name ourselves Ryan. You'll see that we have Ryan in this game, and we have Ryan in this game. And in this game, Ryan is the active player, whereas in this game, Van Zeben is the active player. Again, some people were a little curious as to why this player wasn't moving when CI started moving here. We're not sending the data of this player. Like, right now, all we're sending is that this person has logged into the server, and we are setting them at this coordinate. We're not sending any sort of move data yet, so we're going to be doing that after. But what we're going to be fixing today is the issue is if I close this client, you'll see that Ryan still exists here. There's no confirmation, no sort of update or anything that he's actually left, even though this client isn't open anymore. So we're going to be doing that today. How we're going to do that is we're going to add something similar to our key listener. Previously, we have an input handler here that handles all our keys up, down, left, right, and all that. We're going to do something like that, but for the window. So let's create the class here. We're going to create it in our base package as well, and we'll call it a window handler, just to be consistent with our actual current formatting. And this one is going to implement window listener. Okay, so it's similar to how we did the input handler. We're not going to be doing something so robust as we did here, simply because it's not needed. We just need to listen in on one event primarily, but we do need to implement all of these methods just because, and we will get rid of all this data here, and then I will explain what we're going to be doing. And so there's all that, and I want to rename these to event, event. Just because it looks a little nicer than arg0. It's a little ambiguous, arg0. So we're going to use event. Okay, so there's that. So now we have a bunch of different events here, and if you're curious as to what all these do specifically and you want to see the details, you can just hover over them in Eclipse, and it'll tell you exactly what they do. As you see, this one's when the window's made visible. This is when it's minimized, I believe. Yes, when it's changed from this state to a minimized state. So if we were to push the little minimize button here, de-iconified is the reverse, deactivated, closing, closed, etc., etc. What we're going to be using is we're going to be using the window closing event here, and this will execute when the window actually starts to close. So let's go into this function here, and actually first what we're going to do is we need a instance of the game in here, because this game is not a static variable. We don't have any static instances of game, so we are going to put game in here just like we did in the input handler, kind of. So we're going to do that because we will need to access some methods from there. So we're going to say private final game, and then we're going to create our constructor. We've created these before, so don't worry about those. And it's just going to take a type of game so that we can input this the game into here. So we're going to import game as well, and everything should be fine and dandy. What's going on here? Oh yes. So we need to say this.game is equal to game. So that's going to set our game in this class so we can use it throughout here. We're using final because we don't want to set it multiple times. We just want it to be set once and to be done with. It's just a verification kind of thing. Next, what we're going to do is we need to add this game to the actual frame. So we're going to say this.game.frame .add window listener. This. Okay, that'll add the window listener to the game. If this isn't showing up, I believe we did this last time, but I'm not 100% sure. So if this is showing up as invalid, just go into your game class here and make this variable public, your frame, instead of private, and that'll fix that. So now what we need is the actual packet here. We need a disconnect packet, so we're going to create that first. It is going to be very similar to the login packet, so we're just going to copy the login packet, and we're going to rename it packet01 disconnect. Okay? So here's that, and we're just going to replace all 00 with 01. Bam, there's that all done. So now it's all packet01 disconnect, and it has a username. I just decided to copy this because that's all the data we really need. We could reformat this login packet to send a login and a logout in one, but this is just a little easier to see for us, so we're going to have that. So let's go back into the window handler here, and in the window closing function, we're going to create this packet now. So packet 01 disconnect, packet is equal to new packet 01 disconnect, and we're going to say this.game.player.get username. Just as we've done before when we created the login packet in the game class, we're going to import the packet as well. There's that. You'll see everything's fine and dandy. Next, what we're going to do is we're actually going to send this disconnect to the actual server. And if you remember back to how we do that, we do packet.writeData, and then we do this.game.socket. What did I call it? Did I call it socket? Oh, it might be private. This.game.socket client. Okay, and I believe that's what it was called. Let's go back into the game, verify that. Yes, they're both private though, so let's just make this public, and let's make the server public as well. We could create getters and setters for these, which we may do at a later date if we want to build some sort of API around this, but for now we're just going to make them public. It's just simpler to do for now, and you'll see that everything is good here. So what's going to happen now is when the window begins to close and the user clicks the little X button, it's going to send this disconnect packet to the server. So now we need to handle that in the server. So let's go into our game server here. And you'll see that we have this case disconnect already here. I'm going to copy the data down from the login packet because it's very similar. It's being handled the same, but instead of this first line being a packet 01 or 00 login, it's going to be a packet 01 disconnect. Okay? And very similar. And instead of saying that they've connected, we will just say has left. Okay? There's that. Now we actually need to get the player, and we're going to need to remove their connection. So instead of this player being like this, we will remove their connection here. So create a function right here, and we will say, we'll just remove connection based on the packet. So let's just say remove connection, packet 01 disconnect, and packet. Okay, so this function needs to be created now, so we're going to create the method. I do want to move it down below the add connection function, and we will make it public just in case we need to use it at a later time. So there's that. Now what we need to do is we need to actually get that player MP, so we can create a utility function for that as well, just in case we need it later on. So we'll make it public as well, and we'll say it's going to return a type of player MP, and we'll call it get player MP and string username. Okay, so now we're just going to do a for loop through all the players in the connected players array, like so. So this is going to loop through all the connected players as we've said, and if the player dot get username dot equals username, then we're going to return player. Otherwise, we're going to return null. We could also throw an exception here instead of returning null just to verify data, but we're just going to return null for purposes of this. So now to remove the connection, we're first going to get the player. So player equals get player MP packet dot get username. So that will return the player. So what we need to do right now is we need to send the data to all the clients that this player is disconnected, but we don't want to send it to the player who's disconnected, who's going to be in this array. So we need to first remove him from this array, and then we can do that. So how we're going to do that is we are going to first get his ID value so we can remove him from this array. And how we're going to do that is I'll create another utility function here. And instead of returning a player MP, we're going to return an int, and we're going to say but get player NP index. Okay, string username, and we'll create a variable up here called index is equal to 0. And then we're just going to break here, and if it's not equal to this player, we're going to increment index. Okay, and then we'll just return index. So what this function is doing is it's going to loop through every player, and if it hits it's going to increment the index variable every single time, and if it hits the player who's the valid player, it's just going to return because this is now the valid player's index. So we're going to remove that index. We're going to say this dot connected players dot remove get player MP index packet dot get username. Perfect. So this is going to remove it from this internal hash map, and now we can send the data to all the clients that this player is disconnected. So let's do that right now. We'll say packet dot write packet dot write data this. And if we take a look at packet again, if you guys remember, this packet write data this should go back and call that send data to all clients function right here, which it does. So that's perfect. And that's that for it now. Now what we need to do is we need to handle it on the client side. I guess we didn't need this player variable here, but it's good that we created this player MP so that we can use that at a later date. So let's go into our game client now, and what we're going to do here is we're going to handle the disconnect as well. So let's copy the data from the game server, because it's not going to be too similar, but the creation of the packet is going to be. So don't copy that last line, the remove connection, but copy the rest above it. Let's go into the game client here and paste that down here again. So this way it constructs the packet in the same manner that it did in the game server. Has left, and let's say has left the world. And we don't need to include this. Let's include it. Okay, yeah, sure. What we're also going to do here is we have game.level.add entity player, but we need to remove the entity now. So what we're going to do is we are going to So what we're going to do now is we have up here, we have adding them to the level. Now we need to remove them from the level. So how we're going to do that is we're going to say game.level dot remove player MP, and then packet dot get username. And of course, we are going to cast packet into a packet01 disconnect. So let's do that right like that. Perfect. Now this function doesn't exist, so we do have to go create that. So let's create the method here, and let's populate it. So how we're going to work this function is first we need to loop through all the entities in our level. So we're going to say for entity e in entities. Again, we're using that nice for loop here, and we're going to say if e is an instance of player MP, so if it's a multiplayer player, and this is where we do some casting, because now we know that it is this if statement will not execute unless this is true. So it does have to be a player MP. So we can safely cast this to a player MP, and we can do dot get username dot equals username. So there's that. Now I know that we are talking about the right player, and we'll actually include an index variable so that we can remove it safely rather than removing it right in here. So we'll say int index is equal to 0, index plus plus again, and break. So what this is going to do is, as we did in the server, it's going to loop through all the entities, and when we hit this player, it's going to loop through all the entities in increment index, and when we hit the player, we're going to break so we know that the index is the valid index for that player. Once we have that index, we're going to say this.entities.remove index. That should be that. Let's just organize our imports and stuff, and let's actually go see what this warning is. Save level, that's irrelevant. Let's just remove or add the suppressor here so that we don't get this warning. It's kind of ugly to see. So let's run the game now, and if I am correct, everything should be running as it should be. So yes, we're going to run the server. Name ourselves Fanzeben. Here we go. So we got our player. Again, remember that this is not going to be moving players around. That's going to be next episode, so don't worry about that. And the second one is going to be Ryan. So there's that. And actually, I lied to you. This is not going to work right now if I disconnect. You'll just see that I'm still there. What we did forget to do was in the game, I did not add the window handler here. So let's do that right now. So we're going to make public window handler, and down in the init method here, we're actually going to initialize it. So window handler is equal to new window handler this. That'll work. So there we go. So now let's run the game. Now that we have window handler instantiated. So yes, run the server, put our name in. There's that. You'll see that we have connected to the server here. And again, as we said before, we do not connect to the game, but we connect to the server when that happens, which is good. So we'll connect as Ryan. You'll see that Ryan's joined the game, and I can move around on both. And this time I'm going to disconnect on Ryan, and We got an exception. Good. This means that something went wrong. So let's actually see what this is. Oh, we cast it to a packet00 login. That's something that we failed to change. My bad there. Packet01 disconnect. Let's also take a look at any other instances where this could have been the case. So right here, packet01 disconnect. Let's check the client. Yeah, same thing here. Packet01 disconnect. So make sure that you did change those to packet01 disconnect. My bad, I forgot about it. So let's try to run it one more time and validate that it is working. Some people were a little, they were questioning this because I was doing bug fixing on the fly, but that's part of the game development cycle. I am new to this as well, kind of. I'm less new than you are, but I'm a lot newer than some people out there. So I may not know some of the best ways of doing things, and I may do some things wrong. And if I do some things wrong, I will fix it on the fly with you guys because that's part of learning. So you'll see that we have 2 players here. So let's close Ryan, and you'll see that Ryan's gone from this game now, and it says Ryan's left. Ryan has left the world. So everything is working as we planned, and bada bing, bada boom. That's been this episode in Java 2D Game Engine Development. Remember, if you're having trouble with this episode, or you want to verify your code or see if something went wrong, you can check the GitHub. There's a link in the description below. Feel free to check that, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a good day, guys.